our short-term disability decision time from 5 business days down to 3. So we're getting the claim forms in, we're reviewing them, we're making that decision and getting back to that plan member in a very, very short period of time. So service is absolutely critical. And from a results perspective, we definitely have more effective case management. So it really has improved our results. When you're looking at our LTD durations, we've been really able to shorten the average duration, which means that we're able to release the reserves earlier than we would have in the past. We've been able to increase our recovery rates. And we've also, where we have the STD and the LTD, and I touched on this, where we can have a smooth transition and we're managing the claim right from the very beginning and making sure that all impacted staff who are working on that claim file, whether it be short-term, whether it be long-term, there's a smooth transition and the case management plan continues, which has resulted in significantly better experience on the LTD block for those clients. We've only been able to do that because we have had the system in place.
Great, thank you. And an audience member would like to know, what are the metrics you use for determining the complexity of STD/LTD claims, and then to determine the skill set needed to process the claim?
Good question. What we have within our operation when the claim comes in, we are looking at the information contained in the claim form. So what's that expected return to work date? We are looking at the condition and medical duration guidelines. So are they in line? Are they in sync? If it's something that we're expecting that return to work and it's a fairly simple condition, it's going to a skill set that can look at it from an eligibility and medical perspective and get that decision out there fast. Where you have some complications or you're looking at a claim that's expected to be considerably longer than our average duration within the STD period, that would be considered a lot more complex. So it's really a combination of some of the information that would be contained in the forms, the condition, as well as other influencing factors that we may need to consider into a more complex case management plan. So then looking within the skill set of our abilities case managers, it's a different level of staff. So we'd obviously be providing different training. So depending on the type of claim, it would be going to a skill set that is really just looking at the medical, looking at things within expected guidelines. Some of our more complex skill sets, they would have much stronger telephone interviewing skills. They would have a much more medical background as well as a functional background, so they can look at the function of the individual in addition to the medical.
Okay, interesting. And speaking of interesting, here's a really interesting question. Do you think that making it easier for claimants to submit claims has resulted in an increase in the number of claims you've seen?
No, I wouldn't say that it has. When I would look at our entire operation like this, I would split out where we have just the STD for a particular client, where we have just the LTD, or where we have STD to LTD. Now, if you're looking at the combination, so the STD to LTD, with that, it is a much smoother transition, but we're getting the information in time, and we're starting good, solid case management much earlier prior to the end of the LTD elimination period. So it's a nice, smooth transition that has the case management running right through. There's no sort of stopping and starting again. So I wouldn't say that it's easier, it's just more timely.
All right, interesting. Mike of IPD, here's a question for you. What are the key functional needs for a disability claim solution?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would have to say that probably the most important functional feature is actually the integrated desktop that presents all the required information, all the relevant information in case-based user interfaces. And that actually has a lot of underlying functionality to it. So it's bringing forward all the relevant content of documents and faxes and forms. It's foldering it into a very usable view, very user-friendly view. It's attaching subsequently received documentation into the folders. So there's that sort of content aspect of the integrated desktop. There's, of course, a very big data aspect to the integrated desktop. So instead of having to manipulate and navigate among host systems for all kinds of data, multiple screens, we consolidate all of that as a function of interfaces into the integrated desktop, so it's the sole source for that information. And the desktop also then has all the process tools that are needed to advance the case, hold on to it, tend it, route it somewhere else, and so forth. So the desktop is probably the key functional feature. In our solution, somewhat unusually probably, the next big piece of functionality is the capability to both explicitly or ad hoc or on an ad hoc basis manage the process. So where it's feasible and desirable, the movement of the case, the progression of the case is very much automated and is expressed in a workflow map. But the unusual piece that a lot of solutions can't do is to allow discretionary progression of the case, ad hoc routing, where at the discretion of the case manager, they want to decide what the next step is, what the next task is, where it should go next, to whom it should go next. That part is fairly unusual to marry both an explicit and an ad hoc process. And carried along with that from the prior polling question, that includes all the future task scheduling as well as notification capabilities, automated escalation capabilities that really make sure the case is being timely progressed. And then, of course, the reporting and dashboards and decision support tools, particularly on the claims intake component of our solutions, that sort of provide contextual guided questions for case setup. That's important. The ability to bring in all kinds of content inputs, so fax and paper and telephonic claim intake. And sorry, I'm going on and on, but lastly, probably the sort of configurability of an IPD solution is also very important, very accessible to business analysts, amenable to quick, rapid change as you get new clients and new business requirements. And that's probably the key functional features that I'd highlight.
All right, great, Mike, thank you. Cory, back to you. Question, can claimants submit claims online, and can physicians and employers submit claims online?
That is a good question, and that's just something that's really coming out in the marketplace now. So do we have that functionality right now? No, but we are reviewing it, and hopefully we'll get it in place in the near future. Because we have this existing system in place, it's one of those business opportunities that's now available to us to pursue because we have the platform in place. In terms of physicians and plan sponsors, what we have a lot of the forms or documents coming in is we're having it right faxed. So it's coming faxed, being entered right into our system, and then our front-end people just link it to the claim, and it's an instant notification to the abilities case manager or whomever within our office or operation needs that information right away.